The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, this is Colin Burke with Aristotle. Thanks for attending our webinar this afternoon. Of course, we are discussing redistricting and microtargeting with our Vice President of National Sales, Andrew Tavani. And so we will just be starting the session here, waiting for kind of everyone to finish and filing in. And we'll probably get going here in probably about 2-3 minutes. So just stand by and hopefully enjoy the show. Thanks a lot. Okay, Andrew, if you want to get started, just go right ahead.
Great, thanks, Colin. Again, thank you, everyone, for taking the time to be with us today out of your busy schedules. My name is Andrew Tavani, the Vice President of National Sales. Specialize in data sales for the company. And today we're going to review redistricting and microtargeting. Redistricting is happening and coming up in a lot of states. A lot of the lines are changing. Redistricting plays out every 10 years, as you guys will know. It's where people are able to redistrict at all levels. However, it's nothing but routine, except happening every 10 years for political candidates and organizations. It's very partisan. It has numerous core challenges and needs pre-clearance Department of Justice approval in voting rights states to challenge many of the lines that the legislatures and commissions are drawing. Here I've enclosed a map based on the 2010 census of states that are adding and losing congressional districts. The states in dark and light blue are the states that are adding congressional districts. The states in green or light green are the states that are losing congressional districts, and the states that are gray, are remaining the same, have the same number of congressional districts. And as you can see, some of the states tend to benefit the Republican states, like Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, Arizona traditionally have been Republican strongholds. States like New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan tended to lean Democrat, and those are losing seats, while Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Arizona tend to gain congressional seats. So the Republicans should slightly benefit by the census. Each state's a little bit different in terms of how the process is controlled. In many states, it's determined by the legislature. There are some states that that are commission controlled, where they are appointing a panel. And I've included a map based on each state on which party is controlling the process. The red represent the Republicans, the blue the Democrats, and the yellow is where it's commission controlled, and the ones that are at large don't have at least effect on the congressional seats, but on the legislative. As I mentioned earlier, many states need pre-clearance even after legislatures pre-clear their lines. I've enclosed a couple of maps here for you. Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act basically requires pre-clearance voting rights states. States like Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, and many counties in Virginia have to pre-clear to make sure they're not discriminatory. And I also, Section 203 of the Voting Rights Act requires that states have a bilingual process. All elections be in English and Spanish. But most of the challenges are coming from the pre-clearance of the voting rights states. Now here at Aristotle, we pride ourselves on being the first to have the lines available. So far, 12 states have officially passed their lines. I've enclosed basically a list of those which we now have available and appended to our voter file and data files, and just itemized them out by House, Senate, and Congressional. Obviously, these are going to be changing. A lot of states are not going to have their lines passed or available until later this year and into next year. But we have someone on staff, as soon as those lines are passed and made available, we go get the shape files and overlay them with our voter files. So you have both sets of lines. You have the current lines and the 2012 lines, and here's a list of these. For those of you out there that are using our VoterList Online product to pull your data, we make those lines available on VoterList Online. Here I've just pulled a screenshot from Virginia, and Virginia's passed their state House and state Senate lines. If you go under Custom Search, you can, and under Custom Search Breakout, you can pull the lines. It'll say State Lower House District 2012 AI Applied, State Upper House District AI Applied, and Congressional District AI Applied, where those are passed. If you go on the main screen where it says Congressional District, State House, and State Senate under Jurisdiction, those essentially are going to be the current lines. So you will have the ability to search and select both sets of lines. We also, because the districts are changing so much, we can do an analysis of a comparison of the old versus new lines. And I thought Illinois was a pretty interesting district, because a lot of the lines have changed. And here's kind of just an example what an analysis would look like. Illinois used to have 19 congressional districts, and with the redistricting, they now have 18. But I've broken this out by congressional district, by the current total and the 2012 total, and how the districts have changed. I've broken them out by gender, male, female. We've broken them out by age demographics. We've broken them out by if an individual's married or single, their ethnicity, if they're Hispanic, Jewish, income, demographics, and we put on there basically how that percentage has changed to give you an idea of what we can do. We can customize this any way that you guys like, and I just let you know what's out there, because obviously there's going to be a lot of new voters, a lot of new demographics as these lines get redrawn, and it's going to affect obviously the upcoming elections. On the typically how you've handled that in the past, that obviously may change because your constituency is a little bit different. Let's go back to the slide here. Here's some of the redistricting services that Aristotle can offer. We can offer updated districts with current and 2012 lines on its voter files. We can tell you who the new voters are. We can do an append to your membership file or your association file with the political districts. If you have old zip to district matching data, we can update that with the current and new lines that have been passed. We can do an analysis comparing the 2010 and 2012 elections, kind of like how I just showed you. And we can do custom requests. We're very flexible on how we can accommodate your needs, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what we can do. I think this is a good segue to go into targeting and microtargeting. Targeting and microtargeting is kind of becoming a buzzword in politics. Corporate America has been using it for years in targeting the people that they want to buy their products, and candidates and politicians now have gotten away over the past 10 or 15 years from the carpet bomb mentality, where they're targeting just frequent voters and everyone in their district, to basically targeting a specific message to the individuals that they want to turn out on election day. And it's kind of looking at the DNA of the voter and how they want to use it. So all this information that's collecting, even though one information doesn't tell the whole story, is extremely important. We want to get down, instead of to a general level, we're going to get down to the individual level, where you're going to find out who supports you, who's against you, what should you be saying to them, and on issues that individuals can be swayed, we can assist you with that with all our demographics. We call it getting to know your voters, and here's an example of some of the things that we can do here at Aristotle. I can tell you, who's Hispanic, who's a single parent, what the children's ages are, donations that were given to veterans, what the household income is, what your credit score is. Do you have an email address and what that email address is? Do you invest in stocks and bonds? What year you were born in? How many elections you voted in? Are you into NASCAR? We can kind of tell you those things and really slice and dice your demographics any way that you need to. Just an example. Since instead of just saying someone's a liberal voter or someone's a member of the Tea Party, we can come up with profiles, because you don't register in states if you're a Tea Party. You don't register as being a liberal voter. So here's just at Aristotle, we can also help you and assist in profiling people that are likely to be associated with those groups. So I just pulled out a few on basically two extremes. On the liberal side, they tend to be young, single, educated, college degree or higher. Obviously, same-sex couples tend to be African Americans, Latinos, and Jewish. Registered Democrats and Green Party donate to liberal environmental causes, tend to be upper middle class, work with blue-collar unions and white-collar professionals, whereas the Tea Parties tend to be Caucasian, 45 plus, married, Christian families, middle upper class income, tend to have children, registered Republican, independent, educated, donate to Republican and religious causes. The upcoming Iowa caucus is always a bit challenging for the Republicans because even though you're a registered voter doesn't necessarily mean that you could be a voter in the upcoming Iowa caucus. So I pulled some information that I saw on a poll from the Des Moines Register, which shows who the likely caucus goer will be. And again, you're looking at microtargeting. You know, where it's saying about 40% of the Republicans, you know, earn more than $70,000. They're overwhelmingly white. They're overwhelmingly male. They tend to be Christians. So if you can't have this information, you're gonna miss some people in doing the micro-targeting and targeting. Now, I want to give you an idea, not to be overwhelmed by this, but just give you an idea of some of the fields that we can offer here at Aristotle. I will, if you miss any of these, I will send everyone on the call a copy of our field definitions and a copy of the PowerPoint and the Illinois district analysis. But we're able to do a whole slew of targeting by a lot of different groups. Some are very obscure, and some are very interesting. I tell people who are interested in aviation, what types of magazines they subscribe to, what type of credit cards do they have? Do they have a bank card? Do they have American Express? Do they have Visa? Are they a business owner? Are they into hiking? Do they own a hunting and fishing license? Are they a stamp collector? Are they into casino gaming, what their credit score is? Are they interested in public affairs and politics? Stuff like that. And when when you guys have an idea of what people who are going to support you, in addition to that they're a frequent voter, and in addition to what party they are and what age they are, this kind of gets down to the individuals and what they're interested in. And if your candidate or your organization has something in common with them and can relate with them, obviously you can speak to that. They'll be more inclined to sway your vote and support your cause. So I will send that information to you. But just to give you an idea, we have over 600 consumer enhancements. We have things from financial to religious to socioeconomic interest that can assist you guys in your cause. We here at Aristotle call that our cosmos, a whole encompassing package, and we also have numerous specialty data. I mean, stuff that you're not going to get on the voter files, but that we have access to. We can tell you who are all the business owners. Give me a list of all the unions. Want a list of active and veterans in the military, people that have certain ailments, professional athletes. We really have access to all these people, so we try to be a one-stop data shop to supply you guys with all of your needs. So I wanted to point out some of the things that we're able to do. Wanted to happy if someone wants to. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer all those because I want to hear what concerns and questions you guys are having in the field, and just to give you a little bit of an idea of what's out there. So if you have any questions, please send them in to Colin, and I'll be more than happy to give you my thoughts on them.
Okay, Andrew, we have a few questions here from the floor. How often are our records and information updated?
It's a great question. We do a few different types of updates. We do an update that we collect from the Board of Elections. We do phone and change of address updates, and we do consumer updates. Phone and NCOA are done monthly, every 30 days. All of our consumer overlays are done quarterly, and the updates from the Board of Elections varies by state. We've updated 90+% of our states this year. Some are updated monthly, some are updated, quarterly, and some are only updated once or twice a year, depending upon cost and how difficult it is to collect. So a state that's extremely expensive to collect, it doesn't change that much. We're going to try and collect that information when the vote history and new registrants, are available and make a difference. Otherwise, it's not going to change that much. States that we can get online very easily, we'll do monthly. So we pride ourselves in collecting the information and keeping them up to date. And if you have a specific question of a particular state, I'll be happy to share that with you. I'll give you my phone number and email address.
Okay, great. Do you have a time?
Was there another?
Yeah, absolutely. I got some more for you. Do you have a time on when you think most states will be available with the new lines?
With the new lines?
Yes.
Most of the states will be available later this year. Most of them, we're handicapped on, they have to be passed before we can do anything about it. A lot of them are probably going to be third and fourth quarter of this year that they're actually going to be passed by the legislatures. A lot of them are in special sessions or will not be called into session later this year. And literally, as soon as they're passed, we're able to get the shapefiles almost immediately and overlay them with our files. And that's why we have to go that route. If we wait for the states to actually update the lines on the voter files themselves, it's going to take forever and into next year, especially with all the challenges and battles that are going on. So if a line changes, it's very common that the lines will change multiple times. They'll pass, the Department of Justice will say you need to adjust this, this, and this. They put a new shapefile on, we go and adjust it. Obviously, the current lines are in place, and then we'll just adjust the 2012 lines as soon as the changes are made. But third and fourth quarter this year is when the majority of lines will be updated and ready.
Great. Would we be able to get the zip code political tables for the new districts?
That's a great question. You would. You can get those right now for the ones that have passed in the 12 or 13 states that have already passed and are official. You're going to have the zip codes in the district, but you're not going to have the elected official, obviously, because we don't know who that is yet, and the address contact information. We can only do that of the current elected official, but we can tell you the congressional district and what zip code and zip +4 they're in, right now for the lines that have passed. And as soon as we get the shape files, we can do that immediately for the zip to district matching.
Great. Now, kind of moving to custom reports here. Can you overlay the congressional zones on the TV DMA markets?
We can.
Okay. Okay, great. Now, is there any way to target the LGBT community through Aristotle data?
Can you clarify what that is? I'm sorry.
Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community?
Yes. You know, typically in the past, we don't have a flag, but we have a profile that we can use to come up with that. Typically, in the past, when we've done that, we've done people between same sexes, between a certain age range, who may live outside of university towns, for example, and come up with that. We don't have an actual flag. The survey response data if someone is gay or lesbian, but a profile we can get pretty close to that, and that's how we've done that with those organizations in the past.
Great. Now, is our data affordable for lower-level candidates? It is, isn't it?
It is. We don't. We charge on how many records are in your district. So our voter list online, if you, we have different types of accounts, but on our voter list online, if it's drive-by and you don't want anything run through our production department, we have only a $25 minimum, and we charge 3 cents a record. So a district of about 10,000 records is going to cost you about $300, and you can get only the voters that you need. If you want a congressional district, we usually cap that out. You're usually looking between you know, $500 and $7,500, depending upon the length of term and how many premium enhancements you want. A state is going to vary depending upon the size of the state. But the nice thing about us is you can get only the voters you need. So you don't. There's people that want to buy access to the whole state or to a whole congressional district, but there's others that just want to target a particular voter for a specific project, and they can do that. They can do all the targeting themselves, and then they come out with a number, and we put everything on the front end.
Okay, great. How would you micro-target in municipal or school board nonpartisan elections?
Great question. Municipal and school board, here's what we do. Obviously, if the information is available on the voter file, we have the jurisdiction, we're good to go. And some states have it and some states don't. In the states that don't have it, what we do is we have to either call the Board of Elections and get the precincts and select them that way, or we can target by zips or zip +4. But usually we're able to accommodate pretty much all requests in some sort of capacity. If the jurisdiction doesn't come on the voter file when we collect it, or the state doesn't provide it, we will break it down by the precinct level. That's where the research goes in and does that. We have a municipality document to tell you how to pull the top 200 jurisdictions that we can send to you, because obviously it's going to be a little bit different in each state. And I'll tell you if you need to pull it at the precinct level or need to pull it at the city council or municipal level, and we have that information. But we will make best efforts and really assist you and try and pulling that file. If it's not on the file, we'll do everything we can to pull it for you.
Okay. Hey, Andrew, turning to demographics again. Let's just say I need one specific information, but not all demographics that we have here. If someone is interested in just one specific one, do we sell that, or do we have the full package?
No, you can get whatever fields that you want. So if you just have one specific field that you want, we can just give you that one specific field. But just to elaborate, what we find is, if some of our clients who are buying access to the data, because you can buy it different ways. You can buy it for one-time use. You can buy a subscription. Is they don't know what their needs are going to be. They may want one field for this project, and next week they have 2 more projects where they're going to need different fields, so we make them all available. And that's part of the challenge is if you have to do it ad hoc and do it as you go, you're not going to fulfill the needs of your clients. And the reality is in the political business, it's lots of times an 11th hour business where you need things in a rush. I need to go into the field tonight with phone calls or a poll. I need to get this mail piece in the mail, and if you don't have it, you have to go out and get it. It's kind of slowing down your window where you have to get the data and utilize it.
Great. Could you talk a little bit more about the church membership files?
Sure. We have basically a church membership file. It's going to tell you the contact information of the church, how large the church is, their phone, fax number, and email if it's available, and address. So it's similar to a business file, but it's going to have the contact information, and I think it's going to have the priest or pastor associated with it.
Okay, great. How do you generate profiles for categories which lack hard identifications, like, say, Tea Party members?
Great question. I was kind of speaking to that a little bit, but I'll go into that even a little bit more. You really have to come up with certain profiles for them, and it's going to vary on different areas of the country. So on the Tea Party, in addition to the party affiliation, age becomes extremely important. The consumer overlays become very, very important. They tend to be a Christian family. They tend to vote in primaries. They tend to be white males. They're married. You'll have certain organizations that they belong to, that they're certain ages of their children, and what may be a Tea Party goer in the Northeast may be a little bit different than a Tea Party goer in the South, where it tends to be a little bit more conservative. So we can get as close as we can to it. We've been pretty good about doing it, especially in the states that register by party, because we can eliminate some groups. In the states that don't register by party, we just have the consumer overlays and the date of birth and the profiles to kind of go on and target. Remember, we have 600 overlays to kind of assist you with that. If I get a detail of the state, I'll be happy to break out some numbers. But the only true way, if you wanted to find out if someone a member of the Tea Party, is you have to basically call them and survey them. But we can tell you who's likely to be a Tea Partier based upon the research.
Okay, great. Now, when is too much information, maybe too much, and maybe way too complex to understand, like what we have? And there seems to be a lot of data out there, especially in the local level. Do you think that all that information is useful, and maybe can you give specific examples?
Yeah, it's a very fair question. You know, there's different organizations have different levels of using the information. Some are very sophisticated and really target, and some are very basic. Remember, you know, the information is there for you. You can be as basic as you want. There's some organizations that they know that, you know, the race is in the primary. They know that they just have to get the turnout, and they're going to be fine, and they're going to use voting frequency and party identification and stuff like that. However, I think there's not one data element that tells it all, but having more information is better. It's not going to tell the whole story. It's just going to infer that that person is likely to be able to do it. I think by having that at your fingertips is a good thing rather than a bad thing. And if you don't wish to use all that information, you don't have to use it. We can make if you only want limited fields, we'll give you limited fields. We just carry that information and give you the flexibility to massage all the data, that information. But there's a lot of organizations that don't want to have 600 fields in their database. They just want to have 50 or 100. So we just give them what they need. And you can always come back with us and get additional information if you need it. I mean, the great thing about us is when you download a file on your account, for one project, you may only want certain fields, and you come back in 2 weeks, you can download the same file and add more fields to it. So we give you the flexibility to do both, but it really depends upon what your organization can handle. I think a lot of our clients will go through the list and just take a look at it and see what they need, and if the needs change or expand, they can come back to us and get more data.
Hey, Andrew. Just kind of wondering, do you know if any of our competitors have the new lines?
I have not heard anything on it. So I don't know. I think we're going to be to my knowledge, I don't know. I can't say either way, and I'm not trying to be evasive about it. I just haven't seen it. It takes, I know, I can tell you this, though, about us, is we have someone full-time who's doing this. And if they're just waiting for the voter files to be updated, they're going to be behind. And we've been doing this a long time. We've been doing voter files for well over 20 years. And I've been through a few redistricting, processes myself with the company. And how we used to do it 10 years ago, there wasn't this type of technology with shape files and stuff like that. In most areas, we had to wait till lines were updated and kind of jerry-rig it, so to speak. Now, we carry census tract block and group number on all our files, and we're able to get the shape files, and we're able to overlay it immediately. The trick is getting the files and having the expertise to overlay it to your data files. And if you don't have experience in someone who's doing that, you're going to fall behind.
Okay. Now, is it possible on the VLO site to test a correlation among the voters in a given jurisdiction between, say, primary ballot choice and maybe magazine subscription, or does that, you can only do that after downloading a database and then running it in Excel?
Yeah, you can do a lot. You can do a lot of that online. We have crosstabs on there that allow you to do some of that analysis. You can't do it all online. I mean, there's some real sophisticated stuff that you can't do, but a lot of it you can. I mean, if I wanted to compare 2 or 3 fields, people that voted in the 2010 general, and what was the other one, Colin? You said it was ballot, and what was the other one?
Magazine subscription was one.
Magazine subscriptions, you can do that. You just compare those two, and it can tell you by precinct or by district or whatever, people that subscribe to magazines and people that voted in the 2010 general. You can't tell which candidate they voted for, but you can tell that they voted, and you can kind of infer it based upon the party registration.
Kind of keeping in line with available records, do you have mobile phone numbers available? And are also emails available, email addresses?
We have both available. For both, for emails, what we do is we append emails fresh each time for any district or any demographic based if someone orders it. And the reason we do that is because emails change so frequently, and if you have a lot of bad email addresses, you're going to get shut down. So you typically get about a 20 to 22% match on the total number of voters that you're selecting. So if you have a district of 100,000 people, you can expect to get between 20 and 22,000 email addresses, and we clean them each time. We send an opt-out to tell you who doesn't want to receive their mail, and we can tell by the cleaning process which emails are bad, which are truly bad by hard bounces, and which are soft bounces, meaning servers bad or mailbox is full or what have you. And then we attach them to the voter file and we sell them to you. For cell phones, there's two ways that we do cell phones. We can identify cell phones based upon exchanges, and we can also identify cell phones based upon portability. Not every state asks you for your phone number when you register to vote. So a lot of those that ask you for your phone number when you register to vote will have cell phones. Others will just append cell phones straight out, to them where there's not coverage, because our normal process of appending, phone numbers is landlines. So right now we do custom cell phone appends. We can tell you which cell phones are on the file based upon if they're registered to vote. We can also, on the flip side, there's organizations that can't call cell phones, so we can suppress cell phones from a list and tell you which numbers are not cell phones. If you're a corporation or whatever and you can't call cell phones, we can suppress them, and we can do that as well.
Now, I guess, what is the typical difference between the time the final data becomes available and election day? And I guess kind of another side to that coin is, are there ever any changes to how the data is structured, or are structured, excuse me?
I'm sorry, just can you read that question one more time?
Sure, no problem. What's the typical difference between the time that the final data is available and election day? Are there any changes that come out, afterwards?
Okay, so what we do is when we collect the file when we periodically collect the file from the source, we typically it's very difficult to get the file a week or two before from the county and process it. Because it takes time to do that. By the time you clean it up through the change of address and append phone numbers and stuff like that, it's going to take too long where you're going to miss your window. So what we do is we plan each state based upon when their primary is, when their off-year generals are, and how frequently they update it and collect it based upon that. What we've done in the past where we've collected multiple states is, you may have a voter file that's 2 months old, and we've done everything, and they may have had a special election. We've gone to the state and gotten a special election, and we've joined it by ID number. So you can buy a subscription to our voter file that gives you all available updates that we collect through your election, and you'll get all updates that we do from the source that we collect, and also consumer and phone updates that we collect. Because if you buy it one time, there's going to be changes. But if you have access to it and you can download the data on the fly at any point, you're going to get the latest data. Because there will be changes. If you buy it now, if you buy data now and are using it next year, you really want to buy a subscription. If you're using it for a project to do a poll or direct mail or phone calls, you're really just buying it once and for that project. So it sounds like that. And I hope I'm answering this person's question. It sounds like that there will be some changes. I would suggest if they use us or a vendor that they buy a subscription where they can get updates to it. And I would ask them what their collection schedule is, and how frequently they're doing their phone, consumer, and updates, and hold them to that.
This is kind of something I've been wondering too, Andrew. Does our consumer data differ from the consumer data used by other data groups?
It very well could. There's multiple suppliers of the data. There's some data that's different, and there's some data that's the same. Out there you'll have compilers, and you'll have resellers of consumer data. Typically, they're coming from only a few sources, so it could be one of the few sources. And we contract out with a company that allows us to overlay the consumer data for them. So it's hard for me to answer without not knowing what it is. But yeah, it will vary some. There's a lot of organizations that can't afford to get this consumer data because it's not cheap. So what we've done is we've made a decision to invest in that as a company and offer it to our clients at a reasonable price. If you buy it as an ad hoc basis and don't have the resources to make it available, it's going to be expensive. But it will vary some. I mean, from what I've seen out there, there are some consumer overlays that are very similar, but they don't have the extent that we have. But I don't know their actual source of the data. But it's usually one of 3 or 4 compilers, so there's a good chance it might be similar. But I haven't seen providers with the extensive list of our data elements. They may have 50 or 100. They may have income. They may have marital status. They may have some of those, but they don't have necessarily all the magazine subscriptions and hunting and fishing licenses, and if they're a Christian family and an interest in politics, and that's going to probably separate us from some of the other providers on the consumer file side.
Kind of returning back to voter demographics, is there a way to target government workers according to maybe the governmental entity for which they work?
Yeah, we have 2 ways we can do that. We have an occupation field that's appended to our voter file that will say that they're a government employee. It won't say what type of government employee they are. I also have a business file where that's not attached to the voter file. It has their work address, that has what organization they are, and that they're a government employee. So the ones that are attached to the voter file is a consumer overlay, and then as part of our business file, we can tell you, who's a government employee. You don't have their business address, and I believe you have flexibility to search by certain government sectors and certain titles.
And just kind of to go off that again, is there a way to target the disability community or someone who has a disability?
Through ailments, through ailments we can do that. We can tell people that have certain ailments. So depending upon what they wanted to do with it, I can either sell that file outright, or I could append that file to their, if they had a membership file, I could append that flag to their membership file. Or if they wanted a voter file, I could append that flag to the voter file, but it's not currently a flag on the voter file. It's a separate file right now. It's part of our specialty data, but that's how I can go from that standpoint. But if they have a particular type of disability, I'll just send them a list of a data dictionary of all the types of disabilities that we have.
Okay, great, excellent. Now, is there a way to target workers who are currently or who have recently been employed? One attendee of ours is asking specifically with interest regarding Pennsylvania.
Who have been, who are employed or unemployed?
Who are currently or have recently been employed.
I don't think there's a flag on that, but I will look into it for that person and get back to them. If you can, if that person is willing to give you his email address, I'll be happy to look into it. I don't have something on my fingertips, but I will check and see if one of our consumer providers has that information. Lots of times, I mean, there's tons and tons of information, and you can't get it all. That's our specialty data sometimes. If we don't have it, we can kind of go out and get it, and I just need to look into it and see what it entails.
Sure, exactly. And he was
Sorry
actually
for not having a better answer for you.
No, that's understandable. No, he also asking about specifically regarding unemployed. So if someone was unemployed, as opposed to just like having been recently unemployed.
If they were unemployed, I would probably, if in a particular state, I would probably, I can probably tell you who's likely, who may be likely unemployed, but I would probably need to get a list of benefits or something and cross-reference it. Some states have some restrictions on it and some don't. So if you get this, I think it was Pennsylvania that they were looking at. I'll make a note and see if I can look into that. But that's kind of in the same boat. I don't have that. I can put it together a profile, but I don't have an exact list. Right now. I would need to probably look in and try and acquire that.
Sure. Okay, great. Now, Andrew, do you have a best practices suggestion for how to verify the accuracy of voter IDs done by phone? This is just relating to a marketing project.
So he's asking best practice. He or she's asking best practices of the telephone number.
Right. How to verify the accuracy of the person's voter ID by phone. A voter ID sent by phone. Yep. Yeah.
I don't know if they're doing a poll or not, but what we have a couple different things. Well, first off, it's kind of a two-step process. When we collect the voter file, you have three different types of party registration. You have states that register by party, states where their party ID is determined on how they vote in the primary, and then there's 8 or 10 states that don't keep any party preference in the primary or don't register by party. And in those states, we have an inferred party based upon if they've given to liberal or conservative causes, if they own guns, if they give to environmental organizations, that we can kind of infer a party. Now, the telephone number, we also rate our telephone numbers on how that phone number is matched to the voter file. So the ones that have a very strong match to the voter file that register by party, they're of the party that they're registered of, or the party that they vote for in the primary. The few states that don't register by party, if that individual is comfortable, is comfortable with the consumer overlays that we come up with, inferring, then they can go that route. But our phones are done once a month, and we rate our phones. So lots of times when people want to buy phone numbers, we sell them only our highest connect phone numbers. So they don't have a low match. You don't match on name and zip code, and if you're matching on John Smith or Jane Doe, there may be multiple John Smiths or Jane Does that may have multiple parties. So that's a low match criteria that we match the phone number to. So I would probably, if they were looking at that, you start out with, the high connect phone numbers and the party affiliation, and separate them into tiers. That's going to have the highest confidence, and then the lower connect phones in states that don't register by party is going to have, you inferred, is going to have a lesser confidence. I hope I didn't confuse them further.
No, that sounded pretty good. Yeah, it looks like we've been able to answer all of them. So if you have anything else, Andrew, please go ahead.
Well, again, I thank everybody for spending time out of their busy day, listening to me, and I'm happy to always help or point you guys in the right direction. I will we'll send an email out to everyone on the call with the PowerPoint and the Illinois analysis and also a list of our fields with my contact information. And if you want to talk to me offline or via email, I'll be happy to make the time for you. But thanks again for joining us today, and I hope I was able to help at least a little bit. Have a great day, everyone.